it's really embarrassing. This is kind of like an embarrassing thing to talk about because I feel like I'm just too old.
Can I get your name and where you're from, if you don't mind?
I'm Kai.
Kai, can I get spelling for you?
Straight out of Dogtown, K-A-I.
Hola Chula, thank you so much for clicking on to this video, and if you are new here, well then hi, hello, my name is Kai. I almost forgot my own name. Here on my channel, sometimes I like to talk about my Jehovah's Witness experience and what it was like to grow up in a super high control fundamentalist religion. And part of that conversation includes talking about the reality of life outside of that group, because undoubtedly it looks very different from the way that your life used to look and the way you used to behave and interact with the world around you. And that was one thing that I didn't really account for, I guess, when I was 17 and stupid, and now I'm 25 and stupid. So, you know, some things never change. I think it would be dishonest to say that, oh, if you just leave, then everything's gonna be great, everything's gonna be just fine, when deep down inside I know that that's just not true. It's just not true. And I really want to talk about this without coming across like I'm trying to trauma dump or anything like that, because I very much have a therapist and I've been working through a lot of this stuff on my own. One thing that I have truly struggled with the most is building sustainable relationships, platonically. When it comes to having meaningful platonic relationships, I feel like it's really difficult because first of all, I wasn't allowed to have friends with a majority of the people that were in my life because they were worldly and they were bad association. But conversely, so was I. I was also bad association because they knew that I didn't buy into everything. I'd already been in trouble before. I got caught with a boy at Walmart. It was a whole thing. In the congregation, it was low-key, Kai is sus, and she's bad association. And what that is it's like a dog whistle to everyone in the congregation that maybe they shouldn't be so close to you. So people that had watched me grow up and had been in my life for many years were now being very cold to me, and I just felt like I didn't have anywhere. I didn't have anywhere that I belonged, because I didn't belong in the world because I didn't know what it was like to be like everyone else. I didn't have the same worldview. I didn't have the same experiences. I wasn't even allowed to have the same experiences. But then in the congregation, I'm never invited to anything. No one ever talks to me because they don't want to be like me. They want to be better than me. I understand, when people are very heavily indoctrinated, they're gonna do things that seem cold and seem ridiculous, but it's just so built into them that that's normal, that's what is correct, that's what is morally correct. Basically, they have a responsibility to keep the rest of the flock clean, if you get where I'm coming from. It was just this weird place where I wasn't building any social skills. And I feel really inept socially. And that's why I have a YouTube channel. And I think that's something that has never really left me. Just feeling like I don't really belong anywhere. I've never found a place where I felt like I could be my fullest self, where nobody was gonna exile me for thinking differently or having a different opinion. So I've grown up to be incredibly agreeable, and almost to a negative extent, where I would forsake my well-being to align with someone else's better interests. And that's wrong. Incorrect. Don't do that. I feel like so much of my life, so much of me was being a witness that when I was free, I didn't know who I was supposed to be. And I think that that's pretty normal. Like, most people spend their whole life trying to figure out who they are. And I think the thing is that that's sort of constantly changing. Or at least in theory it should be. I guess I was on the journey of life, maybe just like anyone else, but it just felt strange because I feel like other people had like relationships like sort of just built into their life, like people that they met at school or people that they met at work or whatever, and they just carry on into like their everyday life. And I don't know how to do that. Like, when you're a witness, they really encourage you, well, instruct you, require you to not manifest relationships, or really not to invest in relationships with people outside of the organization, because they're just gonna die in Armageddon anyway. You know, like, why get attached? Had to learn to keep like a safe distance from people, and it wasn't even necessarily because I thought they were bad or I thought that they were gonna be a negative influence on me, like maybe some people, yeah. But I did that because I felt like that was what was expected of me, and the consequence for not falling in line is pretty hefty for a witness kid. Because if you get disfellowshipped, it's like you kind of don't know if your parents are the type of people that are gonna like kick you out of your house, even if you're like a minor. Yeah, you don't really know until you get there. I was really terrified of that because I knew people that had been disfellowshipped, and we just had to pretend like whatever. Like, you see them and you don't recognize them, you don't like acknowledge them, they're just totally shunned and isolated, and that's dehumanizing. I mean, it is a crime against humanity to do that to someone, and the threat of that is real. I was like protecting myself from having to be shunned. This might just be me like projecting like the negative thought that I have about myself onto how other people perceive me. I'm totally willing to accept that, but I think because I had to keep distance from people, that they assumed that I was uninterested or that I thought I was better than them or something, and I really hate to think that. I wish people knew like how much it meant to me when they would include me in things, or when they would notice me, or when they would like try to have like whatever kind of friendship they could have with me, and they understood my situation and where I was coming from and why I just wasn't like them, and they accepted me anyway. So those people will like always have a special place in my heart, because I don't know if I could even like really verbalize how much I needed that, how much I missed that. I can't be upset over things that I didn't have or things that I wish were different, because it's just never gonna be that way. I can't go back and give myself a better childhood. What I feel like I have to do now is finally break out of my shell and go out of my comfort zone and try to like build those skills that I should have built a long time ago. I tried to stay involved in like ex-Jehovah's Witness support groups online because, well, for one, I find it a lot easier to like interact with people online than I do in real life, and I don't feel like that's out of the ordinary in this generation. Yeah, so, and I think that's been really crucial to me, just having a place where I'm speaking to people who know exactly how I feel, who have been through the same shitty situations and had the same fears that I had. And it's really great to vent and just to be understood, honestly. Like, I know that there are a lot of people out there who leave fundamentalist religions all the time. Like, I grew up in Utah. Like, of course I know what a Jack Mormon is, you know? Like, so it's like I understand that there are other people out there who may have had similar experiences, but truly there's nothing that hits better than like knowing that somebody just understands everything that you're saying, and you don't have to explain the vocabulary, you don't have to like explain the nuance, the history. They just know because they lived it. That was their lived experience too. It's really embarrassing. This is kind of like an embarrassing thing to talk about because I feel like I'm just too old. I'm just too old to have these problems. Like, I should be over that by now, and that is a standard that I set for myself. That's something that I projected onto myself to make myself feel worse, because that's what depression is. Like, that's kind of how it works. A lot of the problem is that there's obviously this inherent fear of rejection, because you live your whole life knowing that someday the rug could just be pulled out from underneath you, and everyone that you know and love is just going to pretend like you don't exist. And I think that would give anyone a problem with rejection, problem with abandonment. Now that I'm like aware that that is a thing, it's given me a lot of like context into things that I had done in the past that didn't make sense to me, that I was like, why am I doing this? I just feel this impulsive like urge to do weird things. I think once you get the language, I think you can just understand like why you behaved or why you chose to do something or why you thought about something once you like learn where it comes from, and you can sort of like start to unpack those different things, different ideas, different perspectives and perceptions that you have about the world and yourself and a number of different things. I would say that like when you're leaving the organization, it almost feels like you're in a totally different world. Like, there's so many things that you could do that you couldn't do before, and I think that there's a really strong pull to just go like balls to the wall, go crazy, and just, I mean, I was there. Can't live your life on X Games mode all the time. Like, it's not good for you. My eyes are permanently sunken in, and now I'm stabilizing. I went from one end of the extreme to the other, and now I'm sort of trying to meet myself in the middle. And I guess I'm still not like 100% sure I know what that looks like. It's such a nebulous concept to me right now because I'm not that far along in the process. Ultimately, my goal is just to keep trying to pull this person that I feel like is inside of me and bring them to actuality, to being my reality, to being who I am. I just don't know what it looks like. Like, I just can't imagine it yet. But as discouraging as that might be, you have to keep going forward. Like, it just can't be like this all the time. I don't want to be in this limbo state where I feel like an alien all the time, because I left a world that I didn't belong to just to go into one where I also felt like I didn't belong. And I don't want my life to be like that. I want my life to be better than that. I've definitely learned to give myself a lot more grace, because I think when I left, I thought that I was just going to assimilate, that it was just going to be easy because I had, been doing worldly things. I was bad association. So of course, I had a little bit of experience out in the world. But once like you're on your own and you can make all of your own decisions, and there's not somebody over you pounding you with propaganda constantly, and you can just do whatever you want, stuff that you never even thought you would ever do. And I just didn't know how to handle that. And I had a lot of making up to do that I'm still doing. I'm still making up things, you know, that I should have figured out probably a while ago. I know that someday I'm gonna get there because I refuse to give up on this. I think it's the journey of my life, trying to build something more than what I feel was taken from me when I chose to leave. That's really it, man. That's all you can do, is just try to find somewhere, someplace where you feel like you can be whoever you want to be. Because that's kind of, you can do whatever you want. Like, you can be whoever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do. That was just my thought, just my opinion, and just my video. If you like this video, then that's great. Love that for you. But you can leave it a like too. And if you like me, then you can subscribe to this channel where I will make more videos when I have serotonin. And as always, chulas, I hope you are having a beautiful, wonderful, amazing rest of your day.